ناشئة الليل أشد وطئا وأقوم قيلا إن لك في النهار سبحا طويلا واذكر اسم ربك وتبتل إليه تبتيلا رب المشرق والمغرب لا إله إلا هو فاتخذه وكيلا واصبر على ما يقولون واهجرهم هجرا جميلا وذرني والمكذبين أولي النعمة ومهلهم قليلا إن لدينا أنكالا وجحيما وطعاما ذا غصة وعذابا أليما يوم ترجف الأرض والجبال وكانت الجبال كثيبا مهيلا إنا أرسلنا إليكم رسولا شاهدا عليكم كما أرسلنا إلى فرعون رسولا فعسى فرعون الرسول فأخذناه أخذا وبيلا فكيف تتقون إن كفرتم يوما يجعل الولدان شيبا السماء منفطر به كان وعده مفعولا إن هذه تذكرة فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه سبيلا إن ربك يعلم أنك تقوم أدنى من ثلثي الليل ونصفه وثلثه وطائفة من الذين معك والله يقدر الليل والنهار علم أن لن تحصوا فتاب عليكم فاقرؤوا ما تيسر من القرآن علم أن سيكون منكم مرضى وآخرون يضربون في الأرض يبتغون من فضل الله وآخرون يقاتلون في سبيل الله فاقرؤوا ما تيسر منه وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأقرضوا الله قرضا حسنا وما تقدموا لأنفسكم من خير تجدوه عند الله وخيرا وأعظم أجرا واستغفروا الله إن الله غفور رحيم صدق الله العلي العظيم.
निकाली होगी शेर.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you Brother Mahdi for the recitation of the Holy Quran. Inshallah we'll just quickly go through a few of the announcements. Inshallah before the announcements, as you know we've been having every night a few minutes by one of the Rise Academy students talking about a moment, a time of oppression that's happening around the world right now. Inshallah we'll continue that series tonight with discussion and talk on the country of Afghanistan and what's happening there, inshallah. I'd like to invite the sister up with the Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Fatima Balkhi, and today I am here to talk about the Shias of Afghanistan and what they are suffering from. So, the Soviet-Afghan War was part of the Cold War, in which Afghanistan suffered for a decade. It was communist, the Russians, versus the Shias, Sunnis, and Wahhabis of Afghanistan. However, the Shias were the ones that suffered more. Shias were constantly arrested and killed in killing sprees. And after the war has finished, the Taliban had came in 1994, 4 years later. Afghanistan has accepted Taliban, for they thought they were a regular Islamic group that would help them achieve a better civilization. However, that has not happened. And right now, currently, they are suffering under the Taliban's rule. Because of the Taliban, the people are constantly being traumatized, suffering in depression and PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Since there were refugees, people constantly traveled to America or Europe to have a better life. However, these people have been traumatized, so the scars that have been embedded in their brain will pass on through generations. 300 children have been interviewed, and all of them thought that they will not survive the war. 80% of them thought there was no hope for living anymore. Next slide. Since we are here to talk about the oppressed, let's talk about the oppressors. The Taliban came to Afghanistan in 1994. Recently, the Taliban has been accepting ISIS help, which in many of the attacks that happen in Afghanistan, ISIS proudly claims that they have done part of it. This picture of this man is the current leader of the Taliban, Hibatullah Akhundzada, Mullah Akhtar's successor. Mullah Akhtar was, a few years ago, killed in a drone strike. Taliban rules. The Taliban are Islamic group that follow extreme versions of Islam. Men have to have beards. This is a common Islamic rule. However, the beards have to be at a certain height. If it is not at a certain height, the people who have not achieved this rule will either be killed or whipped severely. Women have to wear full burqas. Women that have to wear full burqas, girls that over the age of 10 go to school, or women that commit adultery will have acid poured on their faces so they will look less beautiful. For thievery, it has to be with the amputation of the hands or arms. Imam Ali's Sharia rule says it has to be the amputation of the pinky, and only with 19 reasons. For example, was that person hungry? If that person was hungry, then they are forgiven. If all of those questions, all of those 19 chances were given, that person's pinky will be cut off, not their arms and not their hands. However, the Taliban will just cut off the arm and hands without any chances. The Taliban has banned television, cinemas, the internet, photography, and music. There has been reports where there was leaked videos of the Taliban listening to music, dancing to music, and watching TV. Next slide. Specific Shia targets. Even though Shias are a minority of Afghanistan, exactly 10 to 15%, Taliban would specifically target them. There has been reports in which the Taliban would randomly break into Shia houses and give them usually 2 chances. Either follow the corrupted or ignorant interpretation of Islam, or they will be slaughtered. Usually they do not give the first choice and they would immediately kill the whole family. The worst recent incident was in the province of Balkh in 1998, in which there was a murder spree. Since Ashura is coming up, let's talk about Afghanistan's Ashura. Ashura is supposed to be known as the most saddest day in the Islamic history. However, in Afghanistan, it's the most dangerous day. Every year on the day of Ashura, there's either a shooting or a big suicide bomb attack attacking the Shia mourners. Every Ashura, the Shias do not have a chance to peacefully mourn for their Imam. They will either be slaughtered or permanently injured. Next slide. These pictures are the famous sheikhs and Moulanas of Afghanistan. Ayatollah Mohseni, he is known to be the founder of Afghanistan's first Hausa. He is currently still alive. Ayatollah Sajidi, inspirational leader who was targeted by the Taliban, but then was smuggled safely to Iran, still alive. Ayatollah Kabuli, he is one of the smartest Ayatollahs in Afghanistan and led many rebellions against the Taliban. Ayatollah Fayyad, he was also one of the most top educated, constantly gives speeches, speaks against the Taliban, and also leads rebellion. Allama Shaheed Sayyid Ismail Balkhi, he was assassinated after leading a rebellion against the Taliban, uniting Shias and Sunnis. Majority of the Shias and Sunni backstabbed him and he was arrested for 15 years. After he was released, he was assassinated with poison. All of these Shia scholars have one thing in common. They build Islamic seminaries. They unite Shia and Sunnis. They try to build a just government. They increase knowledge, fight ignorance, and risk their lives every day for the people to fight against the Taliban. In conclusion, to this day, Afghanistan is one of the top countries being oppressed by one of the worst groups, the Taliban. Unfortunately, the Afghan government is not active in these situations. There is currently an ongoing crisis on Afghanistan because of these lacking actions. Every Ashura, Shias are killed while mourning for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. All we can do is send a support, donate, pray, or just do what we can to help the Afghans suffering in Afghanistan. Salawat.
Thank you, sister, for going through the difficulties that the Shias are facing in Afghanistan. I'll just keep the announcements short and just let everyone know about the children's program and kids program in case you don't know. There are 3 active age groups that there are programs for. Actually 4, I believe, with the child care program. So if you are interested or you know someone that has a child, you can go down the hall towards your left and inshallah participate there. With that though, I'd like to invite up Sheikh Amin Rastani with a loud Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين. So we've been asked to ask the brothers and sisters if they can move a little forward before we begin, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. قال الحسين عليه السلام خط الموت على ولد آدم مخط القلاة على جيد الفتاة من كان باذلا فينا مهجته وموطنا على لقاء الله نفسه فليرحل معنا فإني راحل مصبحا إن شاء الله. The Imam, he stayed in Mecca for a while. The Hajj season arrived, but he noticed that if he doesn't leave Mecca soon, his blood will be spilled there, so he has to leave. He has to leave because the sanctity of the Kaaba is what he's standing for in the first place. The Kaaba, Tawheed and Allah. These are his slogans. If he's gonna compromise the sanctity of the Kaaba by staying in Mecca and next to the Kaaba and his blood is spilled there, for him it defeats the whole purpose. Think about it. When the Prophet was passing away, he told everyone to bring a pen and paper, let's call it, So he writes something that the people will not be misguided afterwards. What happened? They started arguing in his presence. The Prophet gets upset. He says, "Qumu anni, get up and leave from around me," because it's not befitting for people to fight in the presence of the Prophet. Think about it. Although there's a lot of when the Prophet was passing away, why the Prophet didn't allow them to write. He told everyone to bring a pen and paper, let's call it, and he didn't insist that they do it. There's a whole explanation to that, because sometimes some people will say, well, why didn't he just insist? Why was he offended and told everyone to qumu anni, get up and leave from my presence? Maybe if he had insisted, they would have brought the pen and paper and he would have written. There's an answer to that, a beautiful answer to that. We don't want to talk about that tonight though. We don't have enough time. The point I'm trying to make is you don't fight and argue in the presence of the Prophet. Let alone in the Kaaba, fight to bloodshed till blood is spilled, and who? Blood of the grandson of the Prophet. The grandson of the Prophet himself won't allow this to happen. So he says, I'm going to leave Mecca, but he delivers a sermon, and it's famous. These lines that I read, which are part of the sermon, it's very famous. It goes like this. He says, praise be to Allah, Alhamdulillah, MashaAllah, by Allah's will only, La quwwata illa billah, there is no power but Allah, and blessings of Allah be upon His Messenger. Verily, death is bound with the sons of Adam as a necklace around the neck of a maiden. Yeah? Sisters and girls, they wear necklaces. The same way he says that they wear necklaces and you won't find one that's not wearing one, and it's around their necks, that same way death has wrapped its grip around the neck of Bani Adam. Innaka mayyitun wa innahum mayyitun, the Quran says to the Prophet, O Prophet, you're gonna die, everyone's gonna die. Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut, every soul shall taste death. Some are good, some are bad, so the taste that they will take will be a good taste or a bad taste respectively. But at the end of the day, everyone's gonna experience this. That's what we're here for. He says, verily death is like this. How I desire and long to meet my ancestors. The same way Prophet Yaqub longed to be reunited with Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. Verily I proceed towards the place of my martyrdom, which has been selected for me. It is as if I see the wolves of the desert tearing apart each part of my body. Sometimes a lion attacks its prey and suffocates it first before it starts eating it. But wild dogs and canines and wolves, they're not like that. They don't have the power to do that, to strangle their prey to death first before they devour it. So what happens, brothers and sisters, and that's what the Imam is illustrating here. He says, I see, like a pack of wild beasts, that my body is being torn in every direction. If you watch in these nature channels and stuff, hyenas, wolves, sometimes that deer, that prey is alive as they're tearing it apart. And it's out of energy, it can't run anymore, its insides have poured out, and they're pulling on every part of its body and tearing pieces off. This is how the Imam describes it. Yes, we don't understand. We don't understand. And we apologize to Imam Hussein that we don't understand. It's not our fault though. Let me tell you a story. We apologize that we don't understand the greatness of the tragedy, the significance and the magnitude of the tragedy. But this is something Allah apparently doesn't want us to understand. This apparently is one of the secrets of Allah. One of these urafa, one of these great mystics and spiritual people. I read this, it's in the books. He says that I reached the stage where I could have been granted something by Allah. And so I asked, I want to see Ashura. They said, you can't see Ashura. This is a secret of Allah. He said, okay, then at least show me Fatimah Zahra, Fatimiyya. That's a secret too. So eventually what they gave him was that he saw Amir al-Mu'mineen being dragged in the streets with his hands tied, and he passed out. He couldn't take it. He couldn't bear it. Think about it. He can't bear that. Ashura is one of those secrets. The Imam is illustrating. Sometimes we think these things are metaphorical. They're not. It is as if I see the wolves of the desert, meaning Bani Umayyah, tearing apart each part of my body between Nawawis and Karbala. There was a place where graves of the Christians were close to Karbala. He says between this area, this land and that land, it's an old city that had Christian inhabitants. It's as if I see this is happening to me in that region, in that area. And they're filling their empty bellies with me. Yeah. They wanted to get close to the Khalifa with the blood and the flesh of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Ya khayl Allah irkabi wa bil jannati abshiri. Umar ibn Sa'd on the day of Ashura tells his people that ride, O army of Allah. Ya khayl Allah irkabi. They want to get close. But their Allah is Yazid, of course. Their Allah is Ubaidullah. There is no escape from that which has been written down by the pen of destiny, the Imam says. And the pleasure of the household lies in the pleasure of Allah. Brothers and sisters, look at this line. He says the pen of destiny, meaning Allah has chosen this for me. I explained this a few nights ago. Allah chose it for Imam Hussein the same way He chose for us that we have to do salat 5 times a day. It was a responsibility on Imam Hussein. Allah chose, meaning Allah wants this from me. I can fulfill it and I can stay away and not fulfill it. If I don't fulfill it though, Islam is in danger. If I do fulfill it, Islam will be protected. So Imam Hussein chose to do it. This is what pen of destiny means. It's supposed to happen. And I'm an Imam. An Imam will never go against the pleasure of Allah. So right after when he says the pen of destiny has written this for me, he says that the pleasure of the household, the Ahlul Bayt, lies in the pleasure of Allah. So if this pen of destiny has written this for me, I'm going to carry it out, because all I'm after is the pleasure and satisfaction of Allah. And the satisfaction of Allah only lies in Islam being preserved. There's no other way. Verily we will endure His trials and secure the reward due for the forbearing ones. There's one group that on the Day of Judgment, people will look at them and they say, man, when they see what is being given to the Sabirin, those who are patient, they will say, there's hadith for this, Shia and Sunni have narrated this, that people will wish, now this isn't something to wish for, brothers and sisters, but on the Day of Judgment, when they see what's being given to some people that went through hardship, they will wish that they had been cut to pieces by scissors in this world, because of the great rewards that the people that had patience in this life are getting there. So the Imam here is referring to the same concept of sabr, the forbearing ones. Verily we will endure His trials and secure the reward due for the forbearing ones. Brothers and sisters, the Imam, when he wants to receive the reward, what does he do? He makes sacrifices. I cannot expect to come to center. Alhamdulillah, we went to center, we attended majlis tonight, and then when I go home, everything's back to normal, and I'm shouting at my mom and dad are hurting their feelings, or I'm hurting my children's feelings and all that. No. Sacrifices have to be made. One of the greatest sacrifices is to bottle up your anger when you want to say or do something haram when you get angry. Sacrifices. These are sacrifices. Sacrifice doesn't necessarily mean always and only that I come on the nights of Qadr and I forcefully keep myself awake till Fajr. Although we will do that too, alhamdulillah, and inshallah. But there has to be something else. These are the supplements. The main meat is these things. The Imam even has to, if he wants rewards, he has to work for it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to make him work for it. And that's what they teach us in their ahadith, that you got to work for your Jannah. لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. The Quran says you will only get that which you make an effort for. He says, verily we will endure His trials and secure the reward. There shall be never separation between the Prophet and his progeny, and they will all be next to him in paradise. He is referring to what? Hadith al-Thaqalain. لَا يَفْتَرِقَ حَتَّى يَرِدَ عَلَيَّ الْحَوْض. These two will never separate until they come and meet me in paradise. The Prophet had said about the Ahlul Bayt. The Imam is referring to that apparently. And let me say this on the side. Parenthesis open. Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli, those of you who know him, he made a nice point. He said the hadith of Thaqalain, which is very important, and both schools of thought have narrated it, and everyone agrees that this has been said. There might be a difference in the interpretation of it, but they say these words came out of the mouth of the Prophet. He says in that hadith, the Prophet, when he said, Kitab Allah wa itrati, that I am leaving two very valuable and important things behind, that if you cling to these two, you will not be misguided. When he said that, Kitab Allah, he brought this index finger, right? Pointing finger, index finger. Yeah. He brought his index finger next to his other index finger. He said, Kitab Allah wa itrati. Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli makes a point here. He says, the narration says he brought his sababatain, these two fingers, and brought them together like this. Question, are any of these two fingers longer than the other? No, they're equal in length. He could have said this, I leave you two weighty things, Kitab Allah, itrati. One is bigger than the other, one is more important than the other. But he didn't do that. One isn't longer than the other. Of course, the Quran is the main fiqh in this world, but in the ilmul kitab, in the ummul kitab, in the knowledge of Allah, up there in the heavens, these two are from the same origin. So since they're from the same origin, these two, he uses these two fingers, not these two fingers for it. It's interesting observation by these greats. The Imam here is referring to this hadith, that we're not going to separate until we reach the Prophet there. Thereby the Prophet will rejoice by them, and thus Allah will fulfill what He has promised the Prophet through them. Whoever desires, this is the part that echoes till today. He says, Man kana ala wa man kana. Ala in Arabic, when you use it in the beginning of your sentence, it's to get attention. Ala wa man kana fina badilan muhjatah. Muwattinan ala liqa'illahi nafsah falyarhal ma'ana. This echoes till today. He says, O people, hey, whoever desires to give his muhjah in our way, his muhjah, I'll explain that, and is willing to dedicate his life for what? For liqa'ullah, to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he should join me in my journey tomorrow as I leave Mecca. That's what he says. Muhjah. Whoever is willing to give this muhjah in my way. When you look at muhjah in the dictionary, muhjah means your soul. And another definition of it is the blood of the heart. Like the most important, like if I could cut here, okay, whatever, my body will heal. But if someone punches a hole here and the blood of the heart is drained, or that blood in that part of the body, it's much more dangerous. As a matter of fact, that is the life of an individual. It says, whoever is willing to give that in my way, but not just me, don't just bring me into the equation, Imam Hussein says, bring Allah too, and wants to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he should travel with us tomorrow. This echoes till today, brothers and sisters. Whenever I get angry, whenever something haram comes up, I very silently whisper to myself, Labbaik ya Hussein, I'm on a journey with you. Labbaik ya Hussein is for these places. On Ashura, everyone can say Labbaik ya Hussein. If you want to say the proper Labbaik ya Hussein on Ashura throughout the year, you have to have said this to yourself every day maybe. Whenever wajib comes up, you see yourself on a journey with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Imam said, you did what you did so I can live today in the right way. What is living the right way? Being a proper Muslim. And going by the tenets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what it is. So I get angry. I lose it. Something haram comes up. Labbaika ya Hussein. Although that Labbaika ya Hussein has to turn into Labbaika ya Allah. But they're in the same line, inshallah. There's a point here. That brothers and sisters, the Imam says, give me your soul. But what is it going to end with? It's going to end with Allah. Liqa'ullah. This is important. Brothers and sisters, Imam Hussein, I don't know how to say this. He is the destination and he's not. It's hard to separate Imam Hussein from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this sense. But at the end of the day, brothers and sisters, the destination is who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Hussein is doing everything to reach Allah. So we will aim for Imam Hussein, for his satisfaction. But at the same time, you're not supposed to forget, and sometimes we struggle here, we fall short, that the main goal was Allah. The main goal is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once we understand that He's the main goal, lots of these other issues that might come up, sometimes we can resolve those. Regarding our arguments with others sometimes. Sometimes we have differences of opinion with people of the Shia. Do it like this, do it like that, all of that stuff. Well, in the end, who is the goal? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's see if we can figure out what Islam wants from me in this situation. Not what I want so that I feel more closer to Imam Hussein necessarily, although that's the best thing. And that's what we're aiming for. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is at the top. We want to get there. Imam Hussein wants to get there. On Ashura, they say as the day went on, more and more radiance is coming from the face of Abu Abdullah, because more and more loved ones have fallen. Why? One less person that I will be paying attention to, one less of an excuse to be distracted from Allah. Although I don't like to word it like this. Imam Hussein, even before Ashura, he's in love. But we have hadith that some ranks will be given through physical tests. Physically. There's a sermon, brothers and sisters, I want to talk about now. Now that we're done with this sermon of Imam Hussein in Mecca. And he says, I'm leaving tomorrow. He left on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. He left on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. So, we have another account, another narration that says Abu al-Fadl Abbas also went on the roof of the Kaaba. Now, don't get so happy and stuff. I want to talk about this a little bit. That he went on the roof of the Kaaba too, and he spoke and he delivered a sermon. And when you read the sermon, it's very fiery. But pay attention here. When I first heard this, and it happened like a few years ago when I was traveling here and there. I had just started traveling here and there. I heard about a sermon by Abu al-Fadl Abbas. I had never heard such a thing. Think about it. You've been in Qom half your life, going to as many majalis. I was one of those majalis goers, by the way. You know, the ones that like really go, right? Sometimes two or three in a day, and they were long. And it's not normal majalis, it's ulama majalis. Like ulama are speaking there. People who have been doing this all their life in the presence of ulama, have been learning from ulama. But although this is the case, I had never heard such a thing. That Abu al-Fadl Abbas gave a sermon on the rooftop of the Kaaba. So this, it was interesting, and it kind of struck me as, like, what's going on? How come I've never heard this? I want you to keep this in mind. The fact that, hey, I've never heard this, although it's something very big. We're going to use this later. I did some research, and I found out that, okay, there is such a thing that has been narrated, but no one has narrated it except in a book that has been written in later times. Later times. And no one even has a copy of this manuscript, and it's in some book, some library somewhere in Lucknow. Brothers and sisters, there is a methodology when it comes to hadiths, when it comes to accounts, when it comes to history. There's a methodology, please, Ya Allah. It doesn't matter if that thing which is being narrated is something that really reads with what I believe in, one, and two, no, it even reads with the emotions that I'll have regarding something. That's awesome if there is such a thing. But just because anything is true doesn't mean it was said by a certain individual that we want have had said it. I hope that this is what he said. I hope this is something that the Imam said. Like right now on social media, when you go, you see like all these narrations. Like it's a nice saying. Under it says Imam Ali. Like, and you're like, okay, wait a minute. This is a nice saying, but every nice saying doesn't mean it's a hadith. Imam Ali, you do research, you find out like Gandhi said it. But you don't find anywhere that the Imams have said it. And it's spreading. So now someone will say, what's the harm? It's an akhlaqi thing, you know. We'll just attribute it to Imam Ali. Well, that's the same thing that other schools of thought did back in the day, and now look where they are. We have, for certain verses of the Quran, a recitation of certain surahs of the Quran, we have such hadiths for rewards for every single surah. There's like certain hadiths. One of our teachers was telling us once that some of these are not authentic. Well, why would someone do such a thing? Because they wanted to encourage people to recite Quran from the other school of thought. And when they told him, the Prophet said, "Man kadhaba alayya falyatabawwa maq'adahu min an-nar." The Prophet said, whoever ascribes lies to me can get ready for the hellfire. When they tell this individual this, you paying attention? When they tell this individual this, that hey, you're making up some hadiths by the Prophet regarding certain rewards of the Quran, but the Prophet has said whoever ascribes lies to me is in the hellfire. He says, no, that's not what the hadith says. Man kadhaba alayya. Kadhaba means lying. Alayya means against me. I'm not lying against the Prophet. I'm making up stuff, true, but it's for and in favor of the Prophet. When you open up the door to bid'ah, when you open up the door to making stuff up and innovation, you can't stop it anymore. It'll start with something good maybe. But once you leave that framework of methodology that ulama have killed themselves for, stuff happens. Now here, it sounds real good. And you would wish that this is something that was said by Abul Fadl Abbas, a sermon that was delivered. And I'm sorry if I'm bursting people's bubble, but usually I won't talk about things that might not be true. But this one, it just goes beyond everything. And articles, you can, anyone who wants, it's in Farsi though, but you can come, I will refer you to articles that talk about it. This sermon and all the problems that we have. In one book, this manuscript, we don't know where it is, who wrote it, and it's there. And someone else happened to get a note of that, and then now they wrote a book on that one, on that sermon of Abul Fadl Abbas. That's all we have. If such a thing was actually said by Abul Fadl Abbas, لو كان لبان, they say, if there was such a thing, we would have heard of it. At least in Bihar al-Anwar. Even today, I double-checked again, because I had done research on this before. I double-checked again today. I said, maybe it's in Bihar. Nowhere was it to be found. With all the softwares that are out there that you can search Bihar al-Anwar, all the different wordings, all the different combinations of words, you can't find this. It's the only one is in that book. That's why I'm kind of have an issue here. Because this goes against every methodology that anyone has out there. There's different methodologies. No methodology says, I will say this happened because it's in one little book that... So, what am I saying all of this for? I'm saying all of this for to just echo what I said last night. And I'm going to repeat it again a little bit here. That brothers and sisters, when it comes to Islam, we want to talk on behalf of Islam, you have to be an expert. We have to be experts. You sit down and think like, wait, why is it that sometimes you see that so many people are speaking on behalf of Islam? Well, everyone understands if you're going to speak about a specific field of knowledge, you have to have expertise in it. Everyone understands this. Right? I'm not going to come up to you, those of you who are physicians, and talk to you about like the body. Those of you who are mathematicians, I'm not going to talk to you about math, although that was my thing before I went to Hausa. But I'm not going to come talk to you about it. Engineering, all that kind of stuff, computers, of course not. Everyone understands this concept of going to experts when it comes to a specific field of study. But what happens that when it comes to Islam, everyone talks? You think about it, you come to this conclusion. This is why. Because there's no way to prove right and wrong completely when it comes to Islam. You have to wait for the akhirah to come to see if that was right or wrong necessarily. Other fields of study, you can prove it here. Oh, that's good for me. No, it's not good for you. Don't eat it. I'm a doctor. I'm telling you, don't eat it. No, I'll eat it. Watch. You say, fine, go eat it. Next day, he comes back crying. Yeah? That I shouldn't have had it. Well, see, it's proven. You see it yourself. Math, same thing. You prove it. All of these things can be proven. But Islam, when it comes to these things that are more, a little complicated, there's no proving it until akhirah comes. That's why the imams put their finger on the means of this knowledge. They said, hey, either you use the proper methodology or get yourself ready for the hellfire. Even if what you said was right, subhanAllah. Even if what you said was right, since you used the wrong method and methodology and you use bid'ah to prove it, you still got to get ready for hellfire. So now with this one, same, we have a problem here. So I just want to let us know that when the imam gives a khutbah, Abul Fadl Abbas, you think he's going to talk anymore? How many of us have heard Abul Fadl Abbas talk too much? Let alone get on the roof of the Kaaba and start shouting what? The khutbah begins like this. Ayyuhal kafaratul fajara. To all of the Hajj pilgrims that don't even know what's going on probably. Thousands and thousands of Hajj pilgrims are there. All of you are kuffar and you're fajara. Fajara comes from fajr. Fajr is not normal sinning. Very bad sinners. And then he goes on. Where do we see this? All the way from Medina, all the way to Karbala, Al-Fadl Abbas saying anything like that. The only time he gets mean in his words that we see is on the 9th. When Shimr comes. And says, I give you safety. Come on our side. That's when he gets bad, angry, and he says something. Give a sermon in the presence of Imam Hussein on the same day that Imam Hussein gives a sermon, to go on the roof of the Kaaba and speak like this? We don't know. If such a thing had taken place, there would have been lots of people talking about it. We hear like the stuff that two people said in some private setting. We hear that. And then something like this. No one has heard anything. No one in their books, from Kulaini to Khomeini, no one has written anything about it. So now, having said that, we are done with the sermon of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein in Mecca that he delivered. Before he leaves the next day, there's a couple more people, or a few more people that he will speak to. We're going to talk about a little bit what he says to Ibn Abbas. Recite a salawat, please. Who is Ibn Abbas? We revere him. Ibn Abbas, the Sunnis school of thought and the Shia school of thought, they both revere this individual. Abdullah bin Abbas. He had a brother by the name of Ubaidullah bin Abbas. That guy had a problem. But Abdullah bin Abbas, he was 13 years old when the Prophet passes away. So now they consider him a Sahabi. Because you saw the Prophet for 13 years. Okay, you're a Sahabi. It's interesting how he becomes a Sahabi. Although we like him, of course. We respect him. But it's interesting how he is considered a Sahabi. But people struggle. Although he's a kid, he's a Sahabi. But people struggle to accept that Ali ibn Abi Talib was the first to take Islam. Because he was a kid when he took Islam. You get it? How does that work? If they said that, yeah, when the Prophet, when he took Islam, that doesn't really count that much. And I think Ibn Taymiyyah is the first one who says this. It doesn't count that much because he's a kid. He probably does. He might not know exactly what he's doing, maybe. So a kid can't be considered the first person to become Muslim and embrace Islam, but a kid can be a Sahabi, although he was a kid when the Prophet passed away. Okay, but yeah, he's a great Islamic jurist. He's a great mufassir of the Quran, commentator and explainer of the Quran. Both schools accept that. In all of the battles of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he is with Amir al-Mu'mineen, alhamdulillah. And he's the one who narrates the tragedy of Thursday. Do we know what the tragedy of Thursday is? It's one of those hadiths, once again, that both schools of thought agree on. And this hadith has been mentioned in Bukhari. Wow. It's been mentioned in Bukhari because lots of times you'll find hadith in other books, but you won't find it in Bukhari. Bukhari narrates this. Ibn Abbas, they say he was like weeping and crying. He says, Thursday, what a Thursday. That Thursday before the Prophet passed away, he asked for pen and paper, no one brought it. In other words, if they had brought it, none of these problems that we're going through in today would have happened. That's why, brothers and sisters, you start the whole proving imamat discourse, you start it with this kind of stuff. You say, look at Ibn Abbas crying. Ibn Abbas, he was alive till Imam Hussein's time. He sees all of what's happening and he's weeping and crying when he's saying this hadith. So it shows that something must have gone wrong. He says, I wish they had let the Prophet write what he wanted to write, or else none of this stuff would have happened. So either the Prophet was mistaken and he didn't write what he was supposed to write and didn't let the people know what he needs to let the people know and appoint someone after him. Either it's that, or he wanted to and did, but people didn't listen. All of the bloodshed has caused him to cry. I wish the Prophet had written that. Okay? It shows that there is an expectation of the Prophet making an appointment of someone else. There is an expectation. Or else all this bloodshed is going to happen. That's where you start this debate from. You start from here. Say, it doesn't even make sense even? How come the first Khalifa can understand that he has to appoint the second Khalifa as his Khalifa? How come the second Khalifa understands that he has to put together a 6-person council to choose the next Khalifa? How come every one of these Khulafa, Muawiyah understands he has to appoint his son? Everyone understands this. The only person that apparently didn't understand this was the Prophet. Na'udhu. This is where you start the argument. Ibn Abbas is the narrator of this hadith too. And there's so much good stuff that can be said regarding this hadith. But we don't want to talk about that hadith tonight either. We want to talk about what he's saying to Imam Hussein. He comes to Imam Hussein in Mecca. He says, oh cousin. Because Ibn Abbas is the son of Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet. So he's the first cousin of the Prophet. And he's also the first cousin of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And a distant cousin of Imam Hussein. A second cousin. Oh cousin, although I may show that I have patience in the face of you parting with me, But the truth is, I have no patience over this. Because I fear that you will be killed on this journey you have embarked on, and your children will be taken prisoner. Because the people of Iraq break their promises. They're not reliable. We talked about this last night. Stay in Mecca until they kick out Yazid's representative out of Iraq. Or if you're insistent on leaving Mecca, go to Yemen. Why are you going to Kufa? What did I say last night, brothers and sisters? Think about it. He has gone. If he had not gone to Kufa, there's a chance later on people will say that Islam was destroyed because of Imam Hussein. He had enough followers in Kufa. He should have gone to Kufa. He had 20,000, 18,000, 12,000 people on his side. Why didn't he go? They sent letters. What else do they want? Do you want them to do? Oh, Imam Hussein. That's what they'll say. They have to take into consideration these things. They have to look at the bigger picture, these Imams and the Prophet. Some say, oh, if the Prophet had issues with certain individuals after him, why didn't he just take care of business before he passed away? This was posed to the Prophet too. He said, what? You want people to say that the Prophet is hurting his own companions, expelling his own companions? No one's going to be left to follow me anymore. We're sitting 1400 years later, we're saying, why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? Not you guys, I'm just saying in general. He says, don't go to Kufa, go to Yemen. We have followers in Yemen. Once Ibn Abbas sees that the Imam is insistent on going, there's nothing that can be done. He is going to go on this journey because he knows this is the only way that it's going to happen. He says one thing. He says, at least leave your family and children behind. You don't want to give bay'ah, fine. What are these innocent people? What's wrong with them? What's their sin that you want to take them with you? He says, Yabna am, inni wallah la a'lam annaka nasihun mushfiq. O cousin, I know that for me you want the best. And you have so much kindness towards me. I know this. وَقَدْ أَزْمَعْتُ عَلَى الْمَسِيرِ. But I have made my decision to go in this direction. Yabna am, ma ara illa al-khuruj bil-ahli wal-walad. O cousin, I don't see any other way except taking the women and children with me. He has to take the women and children with him. You know why, brothers and sisters? Imam Hussein is not going to make it to the heart of the enemy in Sham. He can never do that, to fight the enemy there. When you want to destroy a beast that is so much more powerful than you, what do? You go in its belly. And from inside you destroy it. Imam Hussein says, I'll do my job. I will be the excuse. My women and children will be taken prisoners. They will go to Sham. There was no other way we could make it to Sham. This way, the same way the Fir'aun took Prophet Musa into his own home. The same Fir'aun that wanted to kill Prophet Musa was after Prophet Musa took Prophet Musa in his own home and rose the person that was going to topple him later. Brought up the person that's going to destroy him later. The same thing Yazid did, he didn't know. Look at how Imam Hussein won this battle. He says, I'm going to go to Karbala. That's where my job ends, and Abbas's job ends, and the Ahlul Bayt and my companion's job ends. We need to do this. Why? Because this will be a push for Lady Zainab to make it to Sham. And to finish the job of Yazid from in there, to the point that just the other night one of the brothers was asking me this. Why didn't Yazid, he was evil, he was bad, why didn't he just kill everyone when they came to Sham? Because right there Lady Zainab gave a sermon and people in the gathering now are going against Yazid. It started right there. The Imam, Yazid can't kill the rest of these prisoners. It reaches a point where Yazid says, may Allah curse Ubaydullah bin Ziyad. I never asked for Imam Hussein to be killed. This is how you fight a battle with a beast. Think about it, brothers and sisters. Take this away from tonight. If you forget everything, take this away. Then he says, Yabna, okay, you're going, fine. Take the women. Why are you taking the women and children with you? He says, I see no other way except that I take the women and children with me. Oh, they're part of the plan. They're part of the plan. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. This plan of Allah And this plan of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein was so beautifully carried out that you don't know, you're just baffled at how Imam Hussein knew what to do. Look at every single step of this journey. And then look at Ashura itself. Look at Ashura itself, how beautiful Imam Hussein did what he did. The battle could have just happened, everyone attacks everyone, and everyone is killed, of his companions, of his family. And as a matter of fact, this might be easier on the Imam. If everyone is killed just all at once, in a matter of an hour or so, maybe 2 hours or so, 3 hours. Not like a whole day or a whole half a day, from Fajr time all the way to the afternoon. But Imam Hussein wants to write a story, brothers and sisters. I'm speaking figuratively. I want you to understand when I speak figuratively. Don't say, what did he mean by that? Imam Hussein wants to write a story. The more pages that are in this story and in this book of Abu Abdullah, the better the purpose is fulfilled of this story and of this book. And every page will have a beautiful story different than the other one. You don't get repetition. Every form of love you find in here. A sister to her brother, a father to his daughter, a daughter to her father, a father to the orphans. He's not their father, but they're orphans, so it's like they're his father, they're his children. Nephews, companions, old children that old playmates that he would play with when he was a kid, Imam Hussein, old friends, old, young, everything. Every page of this book is different, and every page of this book is beautiful. So now, we're flipping the pages of Abu Abdullah's story. We come to a page where Imam Hussein's soft spot lies there. Imam Hussein has a soft spot for the orphans, because he himself, maybe it's because of this, was an orphan one day. He had lost his mother, Fatima Zahra. He has a soft spot for orphans. The Prophet had a soft spot for orphans. Islam has a soft spot for orphans. Abu Abdullah has a very soft spot for orphans, let alone the orphan of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. Qasim might have been there, might have not been there when his father al-Hasan was choking on the poison and he's coughing up blood and bits of his inside are coming out. Very small child, might have not even seen his father that much. All he's seen all his life is Abu Abdullah, Abu Abdullah. Imam Hussein is as if he's his father. But Imam Hussein sees him as son of al-Hasan. This is not Ali al-Akbar. This is different. Qasim is my son, but different. He's the son of al-Hasan too. So Imam Hussein has a soft spot. On the night of Ashura, as the Imam tells his companions, once they've proven that they're going to stay with him on the next day, he starts showing them, they say, their places in Jannah. How they might become shaheed maybe. These types of things he's telling them. They say Qasim ibn al-Hasan is standing there. He's present there. And he's listening. And apparently Imam Hussein doesn't say anything about Qasim. So Qasim himself stands up. He says, oh uncle, will I also become shaheed or not? The Imam first says, okay, well tell me, what do you think of shahada? What do you think of death? Ahla min al-asal. Oh uncle, it's sweeter than honey for me. We've all heard this line. We just don't understand it, unfortunately. Why is he saying this? Sweeter than honey in what sense? Maybe in a sense because I'm going to see my father soon. Maybe I'll see my grandfather soon, the Prophet. Maybe death itself, I've reached a high level of iman. I understand that death is life itself. God knows what he has in his heart. Or maybe it's all of these together. It's sweeter than honey, oh uncle. Okay, so if it is like that for you, then let me tell you that you will become shaheed, oh nephew. But only after you bear a very hard tragedy. And you will see, brothers and sisters, what happened to him the next day. On Ashura, they say Qasim, after everyone has gone, Abu al-Fadl Abbas is left, maybe a few others are left. Qasim comes to his father, his uncle, they say, he says, now it's my turn, oh uncle. Can I go? The Imam says, no, you don't have permission. Back and forth they go. He tries to convince his uncle. The uncle doesn't accept. Some say that he brought a letter from his father al-Hasan that when that day comes, let him go. They say that these two hug each other so much, he falls to the feet of al-Hussein, begging him, let me go. kissing his hands, kissing his feet. Now here they say the Imam let him go, but he never said, I give you permission to go. Go. All he says, they say, is that he says, "Oh Qasim, come so I can bid you farewell." And they cry so much, they both pass out. In the accounts of Ashura, you don't see this that much, that Imam Hussein weeps so much when he embraces somebody that he passes out. Here they say they fall unconscious. Allah knows how much they love each other. I'm sitting up here saying this, I don't understand this love. We don't understand this love. They cry so hard that they pass out. From here on, we want to read what the enemies say. It says, all of a sudden we saw a child on a horse with a turban on his head instead of a helmet. They can't put a helmet on his head. He's 13 years old. What do you expect? Without a helmet on his head, with shoes instead of boots. And this enemy says, I even saw that one of his shoelaces was still open. He doesn't care. He wants to leave this world sooner. And they say, one of these enemies, they say, I won't leave until I make sure that I put on the heart the grief of losing this son or this child on Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. As he fights, all of a sudden he falls from his horse and he calls out, Ya Amma. Imam Hussein, they say, was standing there and just waiting to hear the voice of Qasim, and like a hawk he swoops down to help Qasim. But you know what the problem, brothers and sisters, is? And this is maybe the tragedy Imam Hussein was talking about. As Abu Abdullah made his way towards Qasim, the blood of this beautiful innocent child that the enemy says looks like part of the moon, all over the sands of Karbala, he calls out, oh uncle, come to me. One of these enemies of all the enemies that had surrounded Qasim, they say, wanted to behead Qasim before the eyes of Abu Abdullah. Not over my dead body. Hussein attacks this individual and he calls out to his friends to come and help him. A fight ensues as Imam Hussein is fighting these enemies around Qasim. He is under the hooves of these horses. He's not wearing armor, he is wearing a kafan, like a cloth being flung left and right under these hooves. This cloth turns all bloody with the blood of Qasim under the hooves of the horses. They say the dust settled Abu Abdullah next to the body of Qasim. What a tragedy. Abu Abdullah says, يَعِزُّ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ عَمِّكَ أَن تَدْعُوهُ فَلَا يَنْفَعُكَ صَوْتُهُ. It is hard on me that you call unto me, but I cannot be of any service to you, Qasim. Just to understand the pain that Qasim is going through in the lap of Abu Abdullah. They say, وَالْغُلَامْ يَفْحَسُ بِرِجْلَيْهِ. As Qasim's soul departs his body, the account says that he is digging his heels into the sand of Karbala. Only when you are in so much pain do you dig your heels into the sand. What is going through the heart of Hussein? Oh Hassan, my brother, I was supposed to take care of your Qasim. What can I do that Qasim wants to meet you sooner? As Abu Abdullah drags the body of Qasim back to the tents, they say the feet of Qasim are dragging lifelessly on the sands of Karbala. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah العلي العظيم. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون.
قاسم 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 شهید قاسم 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 شهید قاسم 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 شهید